Okay, so I don't mind saying that I'm 68 years old, and I began playing the drums or being interested in drumming when I was about 4 years old. So it's been many years, and that means many years of listening pleasure as well as listening instruction. And I think the best way to learn any instrument is by listening to the music, learning the vocabulary, learning the language. Some of the first drummers I heard were Art Blakey, Joe Morello, Max Roach. There was a pretty famous recording, an LP titled Rich versus Roach. And the two drum sets were set up, they're facing one another, Buddy Rich and Max Roach, like a classic drum battle. And the first song on the album was the old swing tune, Sing, Sing, Sing. Gene Krupa, I think, was one of the drummers who made that quite famous. And so they're playing this old chestnut of a tune, and Buddy Rich takes a solo, and it's very snare drum centric, and it's exciting, and it's incredible. And as I was listening to it as a young boy, I was like, wow, that's incredible, and I will never be able to do that. So I watched it like maybe the way we would watch Superman. And not to say that Max Roach was not also a Superman, but his solo was very simple technically. He was playing very basic melodies on the drums. So it was not so fast, and it was something I could understand, I could digest, and it was something I could aspire to. And so I think more than any other drummer, Max Roach really informed the path that I chose to take. And so, oddly enough, I would say maybe Max Roach, even though he was not the drummer in later years I listened to. I listened to a lot of Elvin Jones, a lot of Mel Lewis. And I think what I learned from those drummers, particularly Mel Lewis, was ultimately I began to regard playing so as to make the other musicians sound better, not worrying so much about how I sounded, because if the band sounds good, usually the drummer sounds good too. Well, the first rule is to have fun, because making music should be fun, and playing your instrument should be fun. It's a chance for exploration. It's a lifelong pursuit. I'm still learning something every day when I play, and again, going back to listening is one of the best ways to learn the language. It's just, you know, if I want to speak French poetry, I have to learn the language. I can't aspire to being a French poet without knowing how to speak French. So listening will be one of your best friends. And then playing as much as you can. The music business has changed a lot, and it was changing as I was growing up. But I caught the tail end of touring bands that would travel all year round and play. And nowadays, you know, drummers, let's say, they're in school and they're trying to reach the level of the drummers they hear on records. In many cases, these were drummers who were playing every night, all year, you know, several hours a night with the best jazz musicians in the world. So it's hard to duplicate or replicate that kind of universe. That said, now with, you know, digital cameras and digital recording equipment, and as I'll demonstrate here, you know, play along, applications. We can bring the music into our homes. We can record music in our homes. We can collaborate with musicians around the world. The pandemic made that a requirement, really. That was the only way we could make music with others. So I think the rules of the game change, but ultimately the goal is to make a sound that you like. Well, young drummers today can do things so far beyond what we thought was possible. So, I'm not like someone getting old saying, "Wow, we played better back then," because young drummers today play much better than we ever thought you could even do. So, I think technically the instrument is being pushed more and more. My only regret for young drummers is that they didn't get the chance to sit in front of the drummers I got to sit. I got to sit in front of Art Blakey's bass drum. I got to stand in front of Buddy Rich's bass drum. So if you can hear music live, that's one of the best ways to experience it. But yeah, I love the way young players are playing today. And I knew Neil more as a friend than as a fan. I mean, I hadn't really paid that much attention, I'm sorry to say, to what his band was doing, because I just didn't listen to that stuff. But he had a great interest in jazz, and a mutual friend, it was Don Lombardi of Drum Workshop, introduced us, and Neil came to my home for a lesson. And because I wasn't blinded by Neil's drumming fame, he felt all the more comfortable and ready to take instruction, and he liked that I was there to be his teacher, and it was just a few lessons, and mainly, it was. That simple thing is what he wanted to learn more about, simple jazz timekeeping. And I found him to be a delightful correspondent. We traded emails back and forth, and a lovely man. I miss him, and it was after he had passed that I really started digging more into his work, and then got an appreciation for just how great a drummer he was. Playing a drum solo in a stadium filled with, an arena with 50,000 people and keeping everyone interested, I don't know how to do that. Well, I would certainly like to thank everyone associated with the EXP School here in San Salvo for inviting me. It just does my heart so much good to see that there's a music school here, and I'm looking forward to working with all the students. So far, everyone has been lovely, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun tonight.